Hello there, welcome to One on One. My name is Bridget Otu. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm particularly thrilled and excited about today's information. One, because as a human being, I'm just curious. Also, journalism naturally piques my interest in knowing. And so tonight's conversation is about the right to information. In 2019, when the president assented to it, we were excited. We thought we would know everything, but apparently not everything is to be known. So how much of that information can be made available to the public? What is the impact of not revealing everything to the public? And how much of revealing help in promoting accountability, fighting corruption, especially fighting corruption? Because for a lot of people, they believe if we know what is happening in institutions, perhaps we would be able to curb, to control the rampant, the flagrant corruption that we're seeing in this country. Perhaps we will know exactly how much Cecilia Dapa had in her room, as of this moment. My guest is a lawyer, Executive Secretary to the Right Information Commission. He's a lawyer. I'm excited about it. YAW Sarpong Boateng. Thank you very much for joining us on One on One.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. I'm happy to have you because for a lot of people who are watching us tonight, they have questions because there have been several incidents where I have seen Fourth Estate say, we applied for this information in this institution. We didn't get a response, yet another person from another institution, in fact, Metro TV, got it under 24 hours. So I'm excited for us to have that conversation. We'll get there. But help me understand from the basics what your mandate is supposed to be and how far your reach can go.
Okay. So the Right to Information Commission is set up under the law to promote, protect, monitor, and enforce the right of information that an individual has under the 1992 Constitution.
Right.
So this is the ambit, the object of the commission. Right. Promote, protect, monitor, and enforce. So that's what we do. So anything that falls within that, you'll find the Right to Information Commission.
And by that, you're like an arbiter, because when you say promote, protect, it's for both ends.
Both
the
ends.
institutions
So
and the person coming.
The institutions who hold the
Right.
information and the applicants who seek
Absolutely.
information. Yes.
Right. And so far, how has it been? Since 2019, especially when the president,
so
assented to
the
it, what
commission
has been,
was set up in 2020
Right.
October.
Right.
And therefore, I can speak from 2020 October when it began its job.
Sure.
So far, I think that if you look at our reporting to Parliament for the year 2020, 2021, and 2022, you would see that 50 applicants made requests for information in 2020 across public institutions in Ghana. In 2021, we had 289 applications for information across public institutions. But in 2022, our report to Parliament reveals that there was an increase to 783 requests for information across public institutions.
We have to go over that.
Which is good if you look at where we have come from, but I think we could do better because I think that the impression that a lot of people have about the fact that this law is for journalists, this is what we need to help eradicate.
Right.
It's for everybody, and every Ghanaian has a right to information.
In other words, we'll get to the numbers, but in other words, if I am an individual, I'm interested in a particular institution, I can access and I'll be given as much information as a journalist or any other person. Is that it? Or there are categories of information that you can't disclose to individuals? That's
so you can ask for as much information as you would want to know. It's your right. And no agency can ask you why you need that information. So we should take that, note of that you don't need to disclose your reasons for requiring the information. But if you require the information urgently, then you have to disclose the reason why you require it urgently, so that it can be processed for you within record time, maybe 48 hours, the law says so. So that's one. Yes, there are categories of information that you can access and then others that you cannot.
Okay.
So we need to understand that, first, no institution is exempt from the application of this law. Every public institution. In fact, if you go to section 84 of the Act, where the definitions are, it makes it clear that a public institution includes a private institution or a private organization that receives public resources or performs a public function.
Right.
So the category for determining whether an institution falls under the application of the Act is this definition.
Right.
Whether you perform a public function or you receive public resources.
Right.
And it can be extended to include that public resources also means that the work I do, I end up engaging the public in any form of way that makes me receive their resources. You know, so it's an extensive application of the law. No institution, like I said, is exempt from its application. It doesn't matter that you are national security. It doesn't matter that you are office of the special prosecutor. Every institution, including the Right to Information Commission itself, falls within the application of the Act. Exempt information. So it is the particular information that we deal with at a particular time that we can determine whether it is exempt from disclosure or not.
Okay.
Not.
I wouldn't want you to continue. I would want you to just slow down a bit for us there. So let's work with an example.
Okay.
So say right now, we're talking about Cecilia Dapa's issue. And
it's private, so I don't want to go into.
No, she was a public official.
So
may I? I want us to be. So say dredging. Somebody says I'm interested in the $43 million dollars that would use in dredging. That is of public interest. I'm not talking what.
But if you go to somebody's house and you want to talk about whatever they do in their house, it's personal information.
I'm talking about the dredging.
I'm just trying so we exclude. We exclude the matters. Personal. Under this law, personal information, you would require the consent of the individual. Remember that we have data protection law as well.
Absolutely.
And every individual has a right to their own information.
Right.
And therefore, you cannot say because of right to information, you are entitled to every information about everyone. If we do that, there will be chaos in this country.
Right.
So the law restricts the knowledge of the disclosure of personal information, except where you have the consent of the individual involved.
Right. So my issue has to do with so you mentioned at a particular point in time.
Good.
It could be what kind of information.
Yes.
So I'm mentioning the subject of Cecilia Dapa and say, okay, somebody says, okay, was it true that she spent $43 million in dredging? So may I finish? You know, if you're letting me, yes. So she spent $43 million. So I want information. It's not her money, her office as a minister of sanitation and water resources.
I think you should put it in perspective. Are you saying the ministry spent this amount of money?
So I want to go into that. So they come to write to. Do you work for the Flagstaff House? You sound like you work for the Jubilee House.
I don't. I just want us not to veer into politics so we can be more of a...
I don't think the politics can be excluded because a lot of the information people are asking, do they not bother on politics?
We are an apolitical organization.
No, I'm saying that the information people are asking your office,
I'm saying,
are they not political in nature?
Like I said earlier,
no,
I'm answering you. I'm answering you.
Yes.
That the reasons why you require information is of no relevance to us.
Yes.
For us, you require information
but I'm
and we give
you
it
a
to
question.
you. But we are using this platform to educate the public. So we have to be sure we don't mix the politics, or we'll miss the technical side of it.
No, but I'm asking you, the information people are requesting, do they not bother on politics? I mean, why
it may bother on politics, it may not. But I'm saying that it is of no interest.
So if you have to give us a date, no, but
it's of no interest to us.
How is that of
because
no
the law is very clear that the reason why an individual needs information, you cannot ask. So the reasons are of no interest to us. It's just that you need information. So if I ask you to give us data, it is political. So if I ask you to give us data on the kind of information people are accessing, you would say you won't be able to. Is that it? If you ask me to give you data is different from asking me for the reasons why people are asking information.
I'm not asking. So you're saying nobody has asked a question, requested information that borders on politics?
I said it may border on politics, but it is of no interest to us. I don't know if you are not getting what I'm saying.
No, I'm perfectly hearing everything that you're saying.
So whether it borders on politics or not, is not our interest. It is the fact that you need information and we need to help you get information.
Okay, so coming back to the
Good.
issue of the $43 million that are being spent on dredging. So if an individual says that as of this moment, because of what has happened in her home and her being the minister for sanitation and water resources,
Good.
I want to go into that. Does that fall under your work, and will the person be allowed to access such an information?
Definitely. If the work involved with the 43 million expenditure on dredging
Yes.
under the ministry's work is public work, then every individual is entitled to request for that information, not from us as the Right to Information Commission, but from the Ministry of Sanitation to be able to get the information.
Okay.
Now, we only get involved as a Right to Information Commission when you have either been denied the information,
yes. Yeah.
or you have been given part of the information and you are not excited about it and you want some kind of redress. That's when we come in as the Right to Information Commission.
Okay.
I don't know if
no, I get you. No, I get you. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning of the statement you make about the first year, 50, and then you moved on to, I think, 200 plus, and then a 700
and 83
and
83
783.
Yes.
So over 700, right? So 50, was it because, I mean, it was new, obviously? People didn't know.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. I believe so, because in the following year, you'd realize that the interest was going from 50 to 289. And then in the third year, we were at 783. We are hoping that in the coming year, it will be more. Because when I have been out of Ghana and I engage with other commissions from other jurisdictions, they have obviously been in force longer than we have. And you can hear about 50,000, you can hear about the 100,000 applications.
Okay.
So I think that will grow.
So this stat is just for
the first
numbers.
3 years.
No, this stats is just to know how many people are accessing information. Okay.
Exactly.
Let's talk about, what about refusal?
So yes, refusals.
Yes.
I think that from the analysis that we have had over the years, I can go straight to the 2022 report.
Right.
Refusals were below 10%.
Okay.
Which means that out of 700 applications, less than 10% were denied the application.
Okay.
So at least there is that understanding of the law. You can see from the data that public institutions are warming up to the application of the law. Okay. Yes. So it's a good sign that in as much as people are not excited about giving out information, they are willing to apply the law to be able to be in line with what the law requires of public institutions.
What reasons accounted for the 10% refusal, for instance?
So usually the reason will be that this information is exempt. There could also be that they don't hold that information. Okay. So you come to an institution hoping that you find a particular information in that institution. Then it ends up that that information is not available in that institution. So that's kind of a minute aspect of it. But usually, most of the public institutions will say it's part of our internal working documents, which under the law is exempt, and therefore we are not able to give to you. But it doesn't work like that. The fact that a document is part of your internal working document alone is not enough. The law says if it is part of it and it is likely to affect a deliberative process or the outcomes of some deliberations, then we can exclude that information. Okay. So you cannot only say it is an internal working document and therefore we are unable to put it out. But the good side of it is that the commission is able to subject all these reasons to the test of whether that information ought to have been given out or not to. Okay. And then we are able to direct where the information has to go to.
And has there been circumstances where persons were refused, you came in and you investigated and concluded that, look, this does not bother on the reasons. We'll come to the reasons because I know you mentioned that the reasons could be on national security, protecting the integrity of the state, which we will talk about. But has there been a reason where you were able to,
I think
using your...
Yeah, 98% of applications that have come to us, I think we've allowed the information to be given.
As 98% of the 10%.
Complaints.
Of the 10%.
Of the 10%. We've allowed the information out because most of the time you'd realize that when you have ordered the information to be given to our outfit to determine whether it's actually exempt information, you realize that it is not exempt information.
Okay.
Yes.
So now let's talk about exempt information. What is exempt information?
Okay.
Why should some be exempted? I mean, I know I've mentioned national security, but why? What is exempt?
Yes. So, in as much as the law confers a right to information to us, it also confers a responsibility on us.
Right.
Yes, information we have to know, but we can't know everything because some of the information affects decisions that have to be taken, affects the rights of third parties, affects the rights of the state, affects the economic interest of the state. So all these factors have been put together between Section 5 and Section 17 of the Act. It has been categorized into, for instance, information that is meant for the president, cabinet, or the vice president. If you pick that category, information has been prepared for the president. He's yet to take a decision on it, and then in the course of taking that decision, an individual is requesting for that information. If you give out that information, it is likely that the decisions he is going to, the outcomes of his decision will be affected by the fact that that information has been disclosed ahead of time. The law anticipates it and says no, at that time you cannot give out that information. The same way with information prepared for the use of the vice president or cabinet. So you cannot put out such information that are likely to affect decisions that they are yet to take in the performance of their functions.
Also, in other words, from what you're saying, an information can be classified at a point.
Yes.
But time
will determine
and declassify
exactly, and declassify that information. So even in terms of classification of documents, I think for the first time, this law has made it clear that whatever information is exempt under the Ghanaian law should be declassified after 30 years. I don't know why we went for 30 years, but
that's too long.
In the US and others, they go for 10 years for declassification. So exempt information cannot be exempt forever under our law. After 30 years, they'll disclose it. But that is not to say that when the information is meant for the president and he has utilized it, and it is not likely to affect any decision he is going to take, we cannot put out that information. So it is also at that point that we determine whether it is a classified information or not and can be put out.
Okay. So you've mentioned the president,
the vice
president,
cabinet.
Cabinets, right?
Yes. There's also information affecting law enforcement and public safety. So the police, the services, immigration, customs, the police, they may be involved in some kind of investigation.
Covert.
Yes, that affects the safety of the public.
Right.
And then individuals want that information while they are conducting the work they do to protect the public. The law says that you can exclude that information within the time that it is being utilized if it is likely to affect the public safety. So when you are excluding the information in the application of the law, you must indicate exactly what you want to rely on under the exempt rules. So that is when it comes to public safety. The police can use it, the national security, but they cannot say police is not affected by this law. But they can say that considering that we are investigating this nature of a crime, if you put out the information, it's likely to affect other persons who are not in our custody, or even let them elope in the process of looking for them. So these are some of the reasons why the law will restrict that information. There's also information affecting international relations. There is some kind of information that Ghana may be involved with, let's say, border countries. And then, yes, it's information available to Ghana. But if we push out that information, it's also likely to affect the relationship between our border countries and Ghana as a nation. Therefore, you must exclude the disclosure of that information.
And that determination is done by who?
So when you read the law, it's expected that the application of the law or the understanding of the law is clear for everyone to appreciate. And when there is that conflict as to whether it is understandable or not, is where the commission comes in.
Yes.
And the law makes it clear that you cannot go to the court if you haven't been to the commission. So the law imposes your access to the commission as a matter of course, that you should in the event that you have any what's it called, redress, you must direct it through the Right to Information Commission. If you are not satisfied, then our work is subject to the review of the courts.
Okay. Talk to me about the makeup. No, I'm still staying. I want to build a point. Talk to me about the makeup of the commission.
Yes. So
yes.
In terms of
the
what
makeup,
we do.
No, the makeup. Who makes up the commission? Who appointed the commissioners and persons who are there?
So the commission is appointed with a 7-member board.
Right.
Including the executive secretary.
Right.
There's a requirement that at least 2 members of the 4 other, so there's supposed to be a chairperson, a vice chairperson, the executive secretary, and 4 other members that 2 of whom maybe should be women.
Right.
There's that affirmative arrangement for women in the structure.
We are grateful
in the
for
current
that.
dispensation, we even have 3 women. So
right.
we've gone beyond the restriction in the Act. Yes. And it is appointed by the president, like every other appointment. But in the case of the commission, once the president appoints, he is functus officio. What it means is that he cannot remove you from office, except in the same manner that judges are removed, that members of the Electoral Commission are removed. So the moment he appoints, he has done his work.
Right.
Unless there is stated reason for you to be removed and you have been investigated by the same processes that are indicated, judges are removed and members of the Electoral Commission are removed. The president cannot come in and say, you are fired. So there's that protection for the tenure.
I'm asking that because, you talk about the fact that the commission is apolitical.
Yes.
I understand.
Yes.
It should be apolitical.
Yes.
You will not be the only institution that
Exactly.
is apolitical. Electoral Commission is supposed to be apolitical.
Yeah.
Which other institution? Auditor
Shraj.
General, Shraj,
Yes.
all of those institutions. And Shraj is even another fantastic example.
Yes.
But they are all appointed by the president.
Yes.
And there are several instances and examples abound of where you have interference. So how do you say we're not political, we're apolitical? And yes, you're appointed by the president. So how do you
whatever the matter is, there must be someone to appoint officers of public institutions. And the Constitution and our laws have identified that for some offices, the president must appoint. But in order that he may not interfere with your work, they give you the protection of your tenure. So that in as much as I appoint you, I cannot just rise up one day and say, you took a decision that is not in my favor, and therefore I'm removing you from office.
But at the same time, you could protect the president if given, granted what she said earlier.
It's very
about
okay.
I will let you talk.
Okay.
It's your show, but I'm asking the questions. Yes. So granted, earlier you mentioned the issue with the president, the vice president, issues that borders on national security, and if at a point they take a decision that you think, right, I don't mean you as an individual, but as an institution,
the commission,
yes, as a commission thinks that, look, it should be public, but president says it's not. I appointed you. Who are you to say? How do you convince someone watching that, look, we can still do it? How?
Okay, so let me convince you that we still do it.
Yes, please. Why not?
We have made decisions in over 100, almost 100 cases at the commission.
Okay.
Almost all these agencies are state agencies, and the decisions have gone against the state agencies within the time that we have been in office. Now, if you look at the nature of the law, it's very difficult for you to bend the rules when you have to make a decision, because it is not what we think, it is what the law says. That is the only way you can function. If you begin doing what you think, then you are acting contrary to the law, and therefore everybody will be able to tell from your decision.
But there's still a discretionary
there's no discretion.
Time that allows for that influence to happen.
So the moment
unless you're in denial of it,
no,
that the reality.
I'm not
there's
in denial.
I'm
making you appreciate, because I am in the position to tell you how.
And I sit here where we have built weaker institutions and stronger men.
Let me convince you.
Right.
Yes, let me convince you that I am in a position to tell you that it is difficult to even try to favor anybody in the decision making, because first of all your decisions are published and everybody has access to all your decisions. If you make decision against organization A in this fashion, and another organization is confronted with the same circumstance, how are you able to twist it to make it look different? It's very difficult. And then if you begin to do that, it will become obvious in the eye of the public that you are not yourselves, you are under the control of someone else. So there is the requirement that all your decisions are published. That is also to help the public make its own judgment of whether or not you are implementing a fair jurisdiction in the matters of the right to information, so that the public should be able to judge that the work you are doing, is it work for the president, or is it work for yourselves, or is it work for what the law requires you to do? That's the only way. But we as citizens must have confidence in the institutions that we are building. It is important that
I think citizens want to have confidence in the institutions.
If you
that
have
we
followed
set
our
up.
work, if
Yes.
you have followed our work over the past 3
Right.
years, I think that you would say to yourself that we are one of the few institutions that you would say have done exactly what the law requires of them to do. I don't want to sound like I'm blowing the horn of the commission, but I think that our work is out there, and we are subject to your critique. That way you are able to tell that, in fact, the Right to Information Commission is one of the institutions that you cannot get any political control to skew matters to favor anybody.
Right. On that note about skewing decisions to favor anyone, we're going to take our very first break. When we come back from the break, we'll continue on that very tangent, because there is not a perception, there's an accepted, unfortunately. And I remember when Barack Obama came to Ghana, talks about how we should build strong institutions. Ghana as a country has failed to build strong institutions. So it's interesting that the Rights to Information Commission says they are a strong institution, but it's a strong man that appoints somebody to be in the strong institution. So when we come back, we'll talk about it. I mean, things that bothers, the president, the vice president. There's a determination that needs to be done by the commission. They have a discretionary power, which Executive Secretary is failing to admit here in the studio. When we come back, we'll talk more about it. Stay with us here on One. Right, welcome back to One on One. My name is Bridget Otu. We're live, of course, on Metro TV. Online is at Metro TV GH for Twitter, and at Metro TV Ghana for our Facebook page. Of course, keep your thoughts coming in with respect to Right to Information Commission. My guest is YAW Sarpong Boateng. He's the Executive Secretary to the Right to Information Commission. And if you just joined us, we're talking about how easy it is to access information, who can access information, what information are you and I not allowed to see, and why can't we be allowed to see or access those kinds of information. And he says that for the Rights to Information Commission is an independent commission. Presidency may appoint but cannot arbitrarily remove somebody. The Constitution ensures that. But we've seen it. They hounded Domelevo out of office, even though the Constitution protects him. How did they do that? Because he's a strong president, a strong man, and not strong institution. But that is one that YAW Sarpong Boateng would not admit to. YAW, welcome back. I mean, it's good to have you again. But I'm interested in, there was an issue that was very prominent with respect to a colleague journalist, Manasseh Azuri, who had gone to the Council of State and asked for an information on, the attendance. An information that a journalist from Metro TV got it in under 24 hours. Is that before the commission? Did that come to you? What happened?
So we, like every citizen of Ghana, also heard of it in the media. It never came to our attention, but I think that I always say that in implementing any law, you would have teething problems, the early stages. So people may either understand or misunderstand, or probably be mischievous in the way they want to apply or interpret the law. So
by that, what do you mean by people being mischievous?
No, it's possible. I'm only looking at possibilities.
So you're saying that if you haven't received any complaints, whether from the Fourth Estate, which
That's
Manasseh
not
represents.
what I'm saying.
So I'm giving you an example. No, but I asked a specific question.
So let me answer the question.
I asked a specific question.
Yeah, you are bringing another question.
Okay, so
I gave you circumstances.
I said
I said when you start the implementation of a law,
okay,
it is possible that you may have teething problems.
Sure.
Which is people may misunderstand what the law requires of them.
Right.
People may have their own ways of interpreting what the law is, or people may be mischievous.
Right.
I've said 3 things.
Okay.
But don't be excited about just the mischief. Let's look at the possibilities that I'm talking about.
Right.
So I'm simply saying that Manasseh requested for some information that Paul Adomotri had requested for the Metro TV. And then if you look at the law, it looks like he was directed to Metro TV
to go and pick
that information.
Yes.
And not that we will give you that information.
Right.
What we do at the commission is that for us, so long as you have given the information to one individual, you must disclose that information to the rest of the world.
Right.
Because what we push to do is that a disclosure to one should be a disclosure to all. Right. So the moment I give this information out, I must publish it for everybody to see. That is if you have a website, for instance.
Okay.
The moment this application comes through, and we are convinced that the information must be given out under the law, we must publish it for every individual to see. So I think it offered us an opportunity to educate the public.
Okay.
That why don't you give out the information request to everybody, so that you don't even get bedeviled with several applications for the same information by several individuals. You will only be reducing the work that you have in an organization.
Does that happen? Where you request one,
I think
denial means that, okay, then we're stubborn.
So we push for proactive disclosure of information by public institutions. So for instance, why wait for people to make an application for information? Fill up the spaces on your online platforms with information you generate in your organization that are not exempt from disclosure.
Okay.
End of matter.
Okay.
This way we can avoid all such circumstances. Okay. So that if Manasseh would come and ask me about the same information that has been provided Paul, all right, then I can direct Manasseh to the website.
Okay.
And say, we have that information published on our website. Okay. So why don't you go get it? And the law allows that.
Okay.
That if you have published the information in some document that the applicant is not aware of, only direct the applicant to it. You don't need to go and find the information for the applicant.
Okay.
Yes.
As we sit here, as we speak, has Manasseh, either as a journalist or as the editor of the Fourth Estate, made any complaints on any institution to you?
I think he has. There are a couple of them. The Fourth Estate has made a couple of decisions. We have determined some are still under investigations. It's not they are one of the institutions that I say have gotten this law to function because they are always on the heels of all the public institutions, chasing all manner of information. I think it's commendable. Okay,
all right. So I just want to read something that same Manasseh said about, the right access to information, especially ones that expose government contractual agreements, are difficult. And there's a quote here attributed to Manasseh in an interview to Multimedia, and it says that quite a number of them, the access do not come, especially if the information is about exposing some contractual arrangements. I have personally also made applications, and the experience hasn't been very good. In August 2020, I wrote to the Ministry of Health using the RTI law for information on COVID-19 documentary. Unfortunately, as we speak, I have not gotten the information. I made a similar application to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and they gave me part of the information I requested in September 2020. In 2022, I am yet to get this information. I've made several follow-ups. The ministry is aware. My question is, does contractual agreements bother on national security?
No, it doesn't.
Why so much resistance and difficulty for him? So
let me speak to what you read.
Yes. Cool.
If I listen to the quote,
yes,
it refers to August 2020.
And 2022 and 2023,
at the time,
yes,
the Right to Information Commission was not in place. So I can understand his frustration.
Okay.
In September, he was also not. He also made similar applications to another institution in the same year.
And in 2022.
And then in 2022, he's saying that he has still not received that information. When I meet Manasseh, I tell him that don't just get frustrated. Complain at the Right to Information Commission so that you bring us on board to help you get the information you are looking for. You understand?
Yes.
So it's not enough for an individual to just complain that I have not received the information and that nothing is working. There is an institution that has been established under the law, that is to help ensure that people will have access to information, which is the Right to Information Commission. It doesn't charge you a penny for the services it provides to the public. So why don't you take advantage of it? So I'd encourage the public that instead of throwing your arms up in the air and complaining.
Well, why not? Would you blame them?
No, so this is a platform for educating the public. So I'm using it to communicate that anyone who may be listening to us or may have a friend who wants to know what to do when you have such challenges, there's an arrangement in the law for you to complain at the Right to Information Commission, where there are processes to ensure that you get the information. So we should always be ready to go to push the law to its limits, rather than complaining in the middle of an application.
When you say push the law to its limits, in other words, what?
In other words, when we even take a decision and deny you the information as a commission, don't let it sleep. Go to the court. Let the court tell us that we were wrong. That is pushing the law to the limits. That's how we can help grow our institutions. You spoke about building strong institutions. An institution is not strong only because it gave a decision. But if you test my decision in the court of law, then the court will either confirm that we are doing the right thing or admonish us for doing something wrong against the law. So we shouldn't just accept what we have. We should push the law to its limits. The law gives room for subjecting the decisions of the Right to Information Commission to the review jurisdiction of the court.
Okay.
Yes.
Also with the cases, I'm going back to the detail in over 783. The highest you have received. I want us to know what is the dominant theme, because I mean, if you're receiving data, there's something that is prominent in it. What's the dominant theme?
You want to know what kind of information people are really asking for. I think much of it has to do with it will deal with the financial obligations of institutions, how you are spending your allocation of a budget, how you are distributing your funds, you know, that kind of thing. How you are engaging people contractually. Because much of the time, the perception that funds that are being used for public exercises are actually not going into what they must go into is the concern of the public. So the data exposes that more people are interested in such information.
Wow. Okay. So I would continue, but I wanted you to. This is available. The Right to Information Commission has these that every Ghanaian should have, and read them. It's very important that you read them. I'll just quickly highlight, go through them, then we'll continue with our interview. Just explains to you, what the act is, under it, when it was passed, what it's supposed to do. Right to access to information. It's just a really tiny one. You shouldn't spend more than even 10-15 minutes to read this, but to understand it, it will take a bit more. So don't just pick it up, but read it. And it says about, some facts, procedure, how to access the information. They'll tell you about the commission, what they are supposed to do, promote, monitor, protect, and enforce, which he talked about here. Talked about exempt. What is exempted? I mean, not all of it, but he will explain, I like this part because we will talk about this in a bit. And then, of course, this is really about the commission. And their contact is here. So if you don't know, its contact is here. Right to Information, Airport, Osibedi link. I'll just give, which number should I give to the public?
All numbers are.
All of them is available. Okay.
But if they go on to Google and look for the Right to Information Commission, our website is available.
Not everyone is on Google. The people who are on Facebook and Twitter, they can
they are also doing that.
There are traditional people who are also watching
us. We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn, But once you Google, you get the link to all the other platforms.
Right.
We are available to engage. If you have complaints, you don't necessarily have to come to us in person. You can send us an email. We will act on it, and then you get your resolution.
Okay, all right. When I was going through the exempt information, and I like this because I like the term privileged information.
Okay.
Privileged information. Let's talk about that. I mean, they say per person's position. I mean, the president could have privileged information.
No.
You? I'll let you explain.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, right? But where you sit, you could have information, privileged information. So first, explain to us what privileged information is, and I'll tell you what.
Okay, so when we talk about privileged information, we are probably talking about circumstances of about 4.
Okay.
Right? A lawyer and a client.
Okay.
The information a client discloses to a lawyer is referred to as privileged information.
Yes.
But for the fact that you were my lawyer, I won't be giving you that information.
Absolutely.
And you are not required under the law to put out that information. So that is the restriction on the lawyer and the client. On a doctor and a patient, you're talking about privileged information.
Absolutely.
You are not required to put out that information, even if somebody uses the right to information law to make that request. So that's an exempt information. And then you come to a pastor or a reverend minister, or
you
church.
go and confess.
You go and confess,
and then your pastor, and
he comes to court to come and use that information against you. The law doesn't allow that. And then a husband and a wife have a conversation, and you are saying that you are prosecuting a criminal matter. The wife should testify against the husband. The law doesn't allow that.
Okay.
So these are for protections of individual rights. That is why you would see the category of privileged information.
Yes, but my point earlier about privileged information is that where someone sits.
No, it doesn't affect. I've given you the those
are the main.
It is very clear what privileged information is under the law. It doesn't matter that you are the president and you have some information. The law doesn't classify that as privileged information. What it classifies as privileged information is what I've spoken about.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
How do you think, I mean, I'm sure you would say, okay, this is one of the platforms. How do you think that we can get more people to come forward and have the confidence to ask, for information that they are interested in, whether it's even to do their work, help them with their thesis. People just want information. How do you think we can encourage that and believe that, yes, I will be given that information?
I think it's a matter of education, and that's what we keep doing. We look for platforms like this to continue to educate people that look, it's your right. Nobody can question as to what information you're looking for. Go ask the questions and get your answers. So in as much as possible, we must continue to drum home the fact that it's an individual's right to access information, and that you should be confident about it. When you go and you are denied, complain. We'll deal with the complaint and make sure you are getting what you require. So we must keep the education going. It's something that we cannot just do today and say we are done. It has to be something that we will sustain over the years across the country. So it's education, my answer.
Okay. I didn't know you had something called RTI month activities.
Yes.
What's that?
It's part of the efforts to educate the public.
Oh.
What
happens during that?
In the UN calendar.
Right.
There's the establishment of the International Day for the Universal Access to Information, which is every 28th day of September. When we started the commission, we decided that we will set aside a week to promote right to information matters, to coincide with the, the Idwai Day, which is the International Day for Universal Access to Information.
Okay.
All right. Which is the 28th. Then we have done first year, second year. Then we realized that the activities to actually climax on the 28th are beginning to grow, and we are getting to engage more people.
Okay.
So if we limit it to a week, as we have done in the past 2 years, we may not have the results we are looking for. So this time we came up with a month for the month of September to consider it as a month for the universal access to information and how we can promote it. So in that month, we channel all our efforts into promoting the right of access to information.
So is this just visiting, being on platforms? I wonder what specific things
So,
happen. I
so
mean, yes,
as
you
I
could
speak,
be on a platform like
we've
this.
begun,
Yeah.
we consider churches and the mosque as
Right.
a very good gathering for citizens of Ghana from all walks of life, whether educated, uneducated, they all go to church or go to the mosque somehow. So we started engaging with them to give us some slots to be able to educate their members. And some of them have been very welcoming to the Right to Information Commission. And our staff have been doing this over the weekends. This Sunday, they were in about 8 churches. During the week, sometimes you may not get the main church program, but you get some youth meeting or so we are doing the campaign across all platforms, not necessarily the TV and the radio, but we also include the TV and the radio.
And it's not just Accra.
Not just Accra.
Well, how many offices do you have? I'm just wondering.
So currently we are in Accra, but we have an office stationed in Kumasi and the Bono region, Sunyani, and then we'll be starting operations from there by close of September.
Wow. So currently then the focus is really on Accra. So what happens to other regions? No, I mean, if you're saying that your presence is in Accra. Yes, go ahead.
So in the effort to get everyone on board, we have been doing a regional sensitization exercise where we have engaged people from the regions. So we have so far visited 12 regions of Ghana. We are left with 4, which by close of year we would have visited to have these town hall meetings to engage all members of public institutions in the region and the general public at large, so that we are able to get them to appreciate what the law is and what it requires of them. And that's an ongoing exercise. It won't end with the 16 regions. We will also consider districts and others. But as we do that, we are also growing our branches so that we are able to meet the citizens at their point of need.
Okay, what has been the biggest hurdle to either getting your messages across or your presence in all the regions? What's been the biggest hurdle?
I think, like every public institution, financially we are handicapped because the budget may never be enough for you, especially because there are so many public institutions. So we always, in as much as we work with what the government provides, we also appeal to the well-meaning organizations to give us the opportunity of support so that we can be able to carry out our mandate. And that's what has translated into us putting together a 5-year strategic plan. And in that plan, we are telling whoever picks up the plan that this is the work ahead of us. If you want to support, you can look into it and say, okay.
Oh, you're going beyond the government?
So we go beyond the government because the law allows that. We say, okay, you can support us in this direction. So we are open to donations and grants to be able to carry out our work. We report effectively in terms of how those funding has been utilized for the purpose. So yes, we are open to every kind of support. Organizations who want to support any organization in this country that has corruption and transparency at the heart of its activities should look at the Right to Information Commission. It's a commission you can trust to deliver on its mandate. I can assure that one.
Okay, so if we did not have the constitution that we have, that rests or entrust so much powers in the hands of the president, do you think that a perception that your job could be influenced by the president because he appoints would be minimal?
I think that in as much as so there's independence in the performance of your functions, but there's also collaboration to get the work done. All right. So sometimes when you think you are too independent, all the other state agencies who can support you to work will look at you and leave you to go down. But you should collaborate and not necessarily allow state hands to push you to do what you have to do under the law differently. And that's what we think that we can do as the Right to Information Commission. If we require GBC to do something that benefits our work as the Right to Information Commission, we will approach GBC and get into that partnership. But where GBC is wrong on an engagement with an individual, we will say so and we will direct them to do the needful. That is not for us to determine whether you can do it or you cannot do it. It is what the law says. And like I said, if you want to remain independent, It's simple. Just do what the law says. Don't try to bring in your own appreciation of how things ought to happen. That way, nobody can say that you are being controlled by some other hand. But I can assure the public that the Right to Information Commission, so far, per its decisions concerning complaints that have come before us, I indicated that 98% of our decisions have been against public institutions run by the government. All right. So I don't know how anybody can say that the government will control the Right to Information Commission.
Lawyer YAW Sarpong Boateng, Executive Secretary to Right to Information Commission. Thank you very much for joining us on One-on-One.
Thank you.
My name is Bridget Osu. Thank you very much. You can leave your comments on all our social media platforms. Again, thank you for watching. See you next week. Have a good evening.